So the social media boycott starts this weekend at 3 PM on Friday and finishes at midnight on Monday. But what's it all really about? Because having seen many headlines over the last week or so saying that this social media boycott is going to be in place to tackle hate and discrimination, particularly in football and various other sports, I'm left wondering about a lot of different things. There's a lot of unanswered questions which I wanted to sort of raise awareness to in this video, talk about it a little bit, share my opinion and see what you guys have to say in the comments afterwards. But the boycott that happens over the bank holiday is basically saying that the various sports teams, football clubs, Premier League, news sources, BBC is not one of them, despite being one of the most woke news sources out there. Sky Sports, for example, said they won't be posted on social media all weekend. And it's said to be happening to tackle hate and discrimination amongst sport, particularly online, obviously on social media. But this, first of all, the first thing that comes into my head is if you really want to tackle hate and discrimination, then why do you only do it on social media? Because, you know, COVID aside, when people attend football grounds, it's happened for years and decades, and I'm sure it would still. Why not stop football altogether? Why not stop all sport altogether for the bank holiday weekend if you really care about it? This news source here, even with the BBC, says that they are trying to push the government towards what sounds like regulating social media more. They want people to use personal documents to sign up and use social media so you're accountable, which raises further questions, which I'll get onto in just a second. But it appears to me, from the outset, initially at least, this isn't really about tackling hate and discrimination. It's about getting everybody's details on file, regulating social media. So, you know, those nasty social media companies, which are accountable for various things and not accountable enough, who have taken away the control from the likes of the BBC or Sky, are going to have a harder time of it. Is that really what it's about? Is it really got a deeper meaning? Is what I want to ask. Is it a massive PR ploy is the next question, because these companies that are taking part of the boycott have been posting all week about the boycott, probably more than they would normally post about the boycott. So then they're going to boycott for 3 or 4 days, and then no doubt afterwards there'll be lots of news and sources and posting about the boycott after it happened. So doesn't it kind of undermine the whole point of doing it in the first place? I mean, you could argue it draws more attention. It certainly is going to draw more attention to the BBC's website this weekend than it is to the social media platforms. Being anonymous online is obviously an issue in some respects, but in others, it is a protector of freedom of speech. It's a protector of people being able to say things that might be slightly more awkward if they had said them and had to be accountable. So I'm not too sure where I sit on that one. I'm on the fence a little bit, but there are already controls in place. This is the other issue, which is massively breezed over by the likes of the BBC. There are controls in place. If you don't like hate and you don't like discrimination, I don't condone either of those, okay? If you don't like what somebody's saying to you, the names they call you on the internet, don't go on the internet. Don't go on social media at all, not just for 4 days, but don't go on it at all. And if you feel as though, why shouldn't I be able to go on social media just because people say bad things? There's a button called block. You can press the block button and you won't hear what they have to say. So I think that there are some controls in place, and it's a little bit of the whole wokey stuff going on whereby, you know, it's beyond your own personal responsibility. So this also brings me on to probably the main bugbear for me personally, and this is just my personal gripe, okay? What is the actual problem here, okay? Hate and discrimination is bad, yes, but you need to be able to define it effectively to control it or to have any effect or impact on it at all positively, okay? So who decides what discrimination and hate is very subjective. Do we have social medias deciding what hate and discrimination is? Should we have the BBC deciding? Is it for, you know, Joe Blogs, who's on Twitter, somebody else aside from you to decide? I think it's a very awkward problem that we can't necessarily tackle, and in a way we kind of have to accept that it's part of poor human behaviour. That's not to encourage it, but, you know, I can think of personal instances. Obviously the last few months, people have already said to me this week, when I reviewed Football Index several months back and I said various things about the platform and warned people, I was relentlessly attacked by hundreds of people, many of them calling me a nonce and various other pejorative terms, which, you know, you'd probably not deem acceptable. Now, if we were to say that social media is now regulated and so people have to supply their details when they sign up for social media, then you could go, that's great because somebody will know who it was that called me a nonce. they just call me a name at the end of the day. As far as I'm aware, you're not going to then have the police going around their house, knocking on their door and arresting them for calling somebody a name on the internet. It's just not going to happen. So how is it actually going to resolve anything other than sharing millions of people's personal data with social media companies, even more so than they already do? Also, on top of that, if you allow social media companies to be judge, jury and executioner, you have lots of problems there too. So after reviewing Football Index, funny enough, I reviewed Sorare earlier this month. Many people asked me about that, and had a group of French guys turn up, start saying things to me in French on Twitter. And I believe one of them was calling me a bald horse twat, which was fine by him. I wasn't overly upset, I didn't really care, it's just the internet. But I did respond to him, and I referenced the 1940 surrender that France took part in, and therefore Twitter banned me for a day from using Twitter because they said that it was discriminatory and it was hate. Now, I obviously deleted the tweet because Twitter made me to. I didn't feel as though that was hate, but should Twitter be the people that decide what hate actually is? Where are we going to draw the line here, you know? Is it fat people? Is it ginger people? If you call somebody ginger, if you call somebody fat, if you say, hey, you're Welsh and you do a Welsh accent, or you post a picture of a sheep or something like that, is that then going to be termed as discrimination and hate? Or is it just going to be, you know, if you reference somebody's coloured skin? You know, where does the line get drawn? And that is a large part of this problem. And then also, who can be trusted to actually enforce those rules effectively and fairly on both sides of the fence? Or is there a point amongst all of this where we have to just turn around and go, hey, you know, we're adults, sticks and stones will break my bones, names will never really hurt me, click the bot button, move on. So some broader views there. I know with the younger generations, they don't really see things like that. They get a lot more upset and hurt about their feelings and then hide behind anonymous accounts and call people names. But what do we do with this? Where do we go with this? To me, it feels as though this whole weekend is a storm in a teacup about absolutely nothing. It's going to go nowhere. It's going to have no effect. And if anything, it's just going to draw more attention to that kind of behaviour, which will probably increase that amount of behaviour in the medium to short term at least, until these platforms are probably regulated, which the BBC no doubt would absolutely love. So what is it all about? What do we hope to achieve from this? Or is it just a case of, you know, big companies, corporate woke departments, point scoring for positive PR in the press? Let us know what you think in the comments down below. I'll be interested to actually understand everyone's perception of this overall.